Oh, thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to get started. Thank you guys so much for coming to our last session of panel talks for the Black Solidarity Conference this weekend. My name is Eden Sednai. I'm a sophomore here on the Black Solidarity Conference planning team. And would you just please have a round of applause for our panelists today? All right, and kind of just an introduction to start us off. With us today, we have New York Times columnist and critic at large, Leslie Morris, and we have Jamie Broadnax, the CEO and founder of Black Girl Nerds. Jamie Broadnax is the CEO and founder of the online publication Black Girl Nerds. Jamie Broadnax graduated with a master's degree in film and a Bachelor of Science in broadcast journalism. She's covered some of the greatest entertainers, from cultural tastemaker Ta-Nehisi Coates to billionaire media mogul Oprah Winfrey. Outside of BGN, Jamie has written for Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, The New York Post, The Huffington Post, Fox, Culture, IGN, Essence Magazine, The Lily, The Washington Post, and Sci-Fi. She's the executive producer and host of the Black Girl Nerds podcast, also known as the BGN podcast. She's known best for her social media Twitter presence on @BlackGirlNerds and was cited by Shonda Rhimes in Marie Claire magazine as Jamie's @BlackGirlNerds handle being one of her favorite Twitter accounts. She was accredited by MSNBC's The Griot Top 100 list for being an online community builder in the tech space. Jamie also was the host of Rewire.com's radio series Get It Right, a podcast that uses reproductive issues with social justice topics. Jamie frequently travels to report news, movie set visits, and press junkets, and she is an active member of the Black Film Critics Circle. Jamie is the founder and CEO of the online publication Black Girl Nerds, www.blackgirlnerds.com, a website focused on television, film, entertainment news, lifestyle topics, presenting the intersection of geek culture and Black feminism. She tweets @Jamie Broadnax. All right. And And Leslie Morris is a critic at large at the New York Times and a staff writer at the New York Times Magazine, where he writes about popular culture and co-hosts with Jenna Wortham the podcast Still Processing. For 3 years, he was a staff writer at Grantland, where he wrote about movies, television, and the role of style in professional sports, and co-hosted the podcast Do You Like Prince Movies with Alex Papadopoulos. Before that, he spent 11 years as a film critic at the Boston Globe, where he won the 2012 Pulitzer Prize for criticism. He lives in Brooklyn, New York. All right, another round of applause for our panelists. Okay, so the way that today's gonna kind of go, we have about an hour or so for our panel. I'm gonna be asking a couple questions of our panelists, and then after that, we're gonna have time for audience questions. So just be sure that you're ready to engage with our panelists. We just want to make sure this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions you might have. All right, so let's get started.
Sit down. Questions on my phone. All right. So kind of to start off, I just wanted to ask you guys, why and how did you guys decide to pursue careers in the media?
Well, for me, I kind of fell into it. I started with Black Girl Nerds just because I went on Google and I typed in Black Girl Nerds and nothing came up on Google. As a matter of fact, on Google Images, it was white women wearing glasses with black frames. So that was that's kind of how that happened. And you know, I applied for every entertainment job there was under the sun and got rejected at every turn. And I was just like, you know, there's not really any spaces that represent women that look like me, and I'm just going to create this space. I had no idea what it would look like. I had no idea what would become of it. It just started off as a blog about my personal musings about geek culture. And it grew into something bigger than I could have ever imagined. So yeah, I just kind of fell into it, and I didn't realize at the time that I was basically creating a space and filling a void for a lot of marginalized and underrepresented voices.
Me? I mean, I used to. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. I used to take I think it was Lit 200, Langdon Hammer's like lit class, and I used to sit right where you were sitting, right, right there. Yeah, I used to sit every class. I sat somewhere in the area, and I was saying earlier to these guys that the room seems so big from there. It's not that big. It's actually small. It's small relative to how big I thought it was. But a lot of the time that I sat there and you'd be sitting there, that class was my sophomore year. And you'd have these moments in class where you'd be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to spend my time. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why all this money is being spent. I don't know why I'm taking these notes. I'm on a treadmill and I don't know why. And then at some point, I wrote for the Yale Daily News. I did the film reviews for them. Is anybody here is there anything I need to know about YDM? Controversy, scandal, anybody here on the board? Yeah. There was nobody on the board when I was here either. Troy Flint and I might have been the only, Stephanie Claire, Troy Flint and me were the only Black people near YDM. So just making a mental note about that. And I did that. I knew I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to write about popular culture. I did when I was doing the film reviews at the Daily News, I had assumed that I wasn't going to get a job writing professionally for a long time. Like, I probably wasn't going to get a real serious job until, I was in my 30s. So I had just made a plan B, which was to teach. And that didn't work out. Does Teach for America still come here to recruit? They came here to recruit when I was here too. And I told them why I thought I'd be a good teacher, and they didn't like my answer. The woman was actually clear after my interview why I was definitely not going to be getting the job. So I kind of freaked out, because the other thing about being here, and this is probably true at most undergraduate schools, I don't know about most. I'll just talk about Yale. They don't tell you what to do. They don't if you know what you want to do, like you want to go to med school, you want to go to some sort of, post-secondary situation, law school, Wall Street. Otherwise, you kind of you're fending for yourself a little bit. So I actually didn't have anybody giving me any advice about what to do. I didn't do any internships. I did everything wrong. I had a movie theater job for 3 summers. But I knew I wanted to write, and I kept doing it. And at some point, I lucked into a job. A lot of my situation is not really useful because of luck. I got lucky a lot. But I also didn't give up on the writing part of what I wanted to do. I don't know if that remotely answers your question.
No, definitely. Kind of in the vein of having to fend for yourself, not necessarily seeing yourself represented in your profession. What are some of the challenges that you face on the path to where you are today? What do you wish that you had known before you started out?
Creating Black Girl Nerds for me wasn't something that I had envisioned for myself. Like, it's a company, and I didn't see this as a company. I didn't see this as a brand. It was just, this would be a cool blog, and it would be great to come up with ideas about talking about gaming and comics and nerdy, fun, geeky stuff. And because it grew so big, and it became, it essentially grew a following, and not only just a following, but like studios were interested in us. and people wanted to have partnerships with us. And we were bringing in revenue. I was like, okay, I guess I need to treat this like a business, and filing an LLC, and having to file 1099s, and having independent contractors. The challenge was I didn't go to school for business. I went to school for journalism. I have more of a creative mind. I'm not an executive. I don't know sort of the skills that it takes to run a company or run a business. And I'm open and transparent about that, and I always will be. So I still face those challenges, and I'm definitely willing to, be open to saying that there's still more work to do. But I do like the fact that I'm still growing in that area as an entrepreneur, as a founder, and realizing that, I have managed to grow this company into something that has been something that I really didn't realize is bigger than myself. And I'm proud of what I've created, and that it's had such an impact on so many people. One of the big things that I've done for this year, sort of it's, kind of ironic that we're in 2020, is creating a vision board. And I want to really make sure that I have a vision for Black Girl Nerds, because that is the thing that I haven't had in the past. I've done so many interviews, and people will ask me, what is your plans for Black Girl Nerds? What are your plans for, your business? And I could never answer that question, which is odd, because I started this in 2012. So I'm 8 years into it, and 8 years into it, like by now I should have something. But yeah, I'm really now focusing on what is the vision for BGN. So those challenges are still there, and I'm working on those. I'm really proud of where we are right now, and continue to fight those challenges, and just having the awareness of it is good, because not being aware of it, obviously you're going to repeat those mistakes over and over again. And sometimes you have to fall and trip and make the mistakes in order to grow, in order to learn, in order to become more successful. So I'm glad that I went through some of the challenges that I faced, so that way I could be a better entrepreneur, a better leader, a better person, and be more understanding of the people that I work with. Because it's, there's been definitely a lot of challenges. But yeah, 2020 is my year of just vision. And I have this really elaborate vision board that I've put together that I'm really proud of, and just really excited about. So yeah.
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes. What have been some of the challenges that you faced in your path to where you are today?
The most useful answer to this question, or there's two useful answers potentially. First thing is to just figure out, for me, was to figure out how, I'm a writer, to figure out how to best communicate my thoughts and thinking to other people. That was, you get trained in college to do a particular kind of thinking, and then and to sort of write a certain way, and you're writing to please a professor and get a grade and follow an assignment. And to do that for people who aren't an audience of basically one, but it's an audience of an infinite number of people who you don't know and will never actually give you a grade. They'll just send you some nasty email and leave some comments on the page of the story you write. It's just learning how to communicate in my voice as effectively as I could. But another challenge was really, and this is an ongoing challenge for me, although it's like half challenge, half goal, which is to figure out ways to think in public about the way this country works, and who it works for and who it works against, and how to write about all of the all the problems that we all know exist and all the happy things we know exist, how to write about race and gender and sex and, things that I left Twitter, for instance, because I wanted to, I didn't leave Twitter. I just don't tweet that much anymore. Mostly because I'm kind of enjoying thinking about a lot of these problems away from people attacking me for not thinking enough about them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically, for the work that I do, I find that it's just more beneficial for me to think in the space of an essay or a piece of criticism than it is to do my thinking on Twitter. Although there are really great people doing that thinking, it's just not the thinking I think I should be doing anymore. Because you can see that you can go look at my account and see the old tweets and know why I left.
Okay, so in the space of media and culture and this conversation, I think one of the topics that comes up a lot is misinformation and how that's playing into our political landscape and how that's forming people's perceptions of how they see what's going on in our country. So what value do you think media and your role within media specifically has on people's perceptions of society, of our nation, specifically as it pertains to Black people?
Well, that is an enormous question that, historically it hasn't been great. It's much better now. And I think one of the things that makes it better in some ways is that there are more of us who have access to speak for ourselves. There's less of a reliance on media companies to get stories about Black people right. But at the same time, we should still be working on getting them to get the stories right. I think that you just have the other great thing that I think is happening right now is you've got more people, if we're just talking about Black people, we have more Black people saying more stuff more differently, if that makes sense. It isn't, there are some pluralities, but there are obviously, we all have been trained to believe that there's no monolith, and yet, we are a group, and we have a lot of beliefs, and we have beliefs in common, but we also have this common history. And to sort of the points of departure from that common history and how we think about who we are, both as a people and as individuals who have individual thoughts and feelings and tastes. The sort of negotiation between the historical self and the individual self. I think that's work that has been increasingly as the years go on. And as, there are more places for people to speak and express themselves. That thinking, that sort of public thinking has become really interesting. But, I also think that it can also be ghettoizing in some way. Like I'm on a lot of mailing lists from publishers, and I get all the books from all the people who have, every publisher wants the story of a person who had an incident with the police. And they all sort of want to funnel that story through a framework that is pretty much from book to book to book the same thing. After Between the Worlds and Me came out, like publishers only wanted books that were sort of, not only, but when it came to a certain kind of like Black experience, only wanted books that were letters to people's children, whether they had children or not. There's kind of a myopia